Now, this was trending on Twitter, and people are really upset. Like, this is what I love. There are some individuals out there that you can upset them with a picture. Like, you have that control over their emotions. You just show them a picture, and they go so livid that they issue the threats of death. They grab their keyboards, they do the clickety clack, and like terrorists, they terrorize people over the internet. But all jokes aside, right? Like, this is an interesting thing because a lot of female characters from the Western gaming industry, it has to adhere to something like this. And any deviation from this makes you a humorist person. In fact, I would even say that this picture is more feminine than most female characters that we've seen lately because the developers just pumped them up with androgyny. I don't know. I think like they have a room in Ubisoft where they take their female characters and they pump them up with testosterone, making their jawline stronger, broader shoulders, pumping them up with muscles, to the point where ChatGPT, like unironically, I'll make a video about it. But ChatGPT, if you ask it, is this a female or a male character? It can't say. It's like, well, it's got androgynous features, can go either way, depends on the story, depends on the context. It doesn't have this problem with female characters like Talizora Vas Normandy, Liara Tusani. Like, for some reason, it's accurately able to tell that those characters are female. It's just like the recent female characters in AAA gaming, ChatGPT is confused. And take into account that AI is built with facial recognition in mind, like it's one of the most coveted features by corporations and governments to have facial recognition. Yeah, I'll make an entire different video about that. But again, like the reason people are livid is because they don't like you noticing. Like, they don't like you noticing that there's a lot of androgynous female characters in video games lately, and they want to normalize the androgyny. Like some people believe that if all women look androgynous, that men are going to simp over androgynous women. They're going to abandon their ushikushi VTubers, their e-girls, their girlfriends, and they're going to be like, no, California, here I come. I covet the Democrat woman. You know, like, it's just like ridiculous. As if men are the gatekeepers when it comes to forming relationships, right? Like, men are surrounded by women, but they are so picky. Men are just so unreasonably picky that we need to put androgynous women into video games to try and manipulate them into liking androgynous characters. And you know, like, androgynous people do exist in real life. Like, I am aware that ugly women are a thing. But why do you want me to pay $140 to see them on my screen, though? Like, why do you want me to buy the latest graphics card in order to make a gaming rig so I can see ugly women in 8K? Right? But, okay, moving back to this picture that triggered a lot of people, which is the female ninja with boobs. Now, this is an aesthetic that Assassin's Creed doesn't go for, right? Like, it's going for realism. Sometimes. Like sometimes it goes for realism, other times it goes for inclusivity. You know, like if you're asking, like, why is this character like that, they will be like, well, there's aliens in the game, so why can't we have this? But if there's aliens in the game, you definitely can't have big tits, right? So, like, the conversation is fluid. It's like the Schrodinger's conversation. Like, sometimes they go for historical accuracy, other times don't. But like, I understand what they're going through, right? Like, they wouldn't go for this particular design, but they would also never go for a woman with these size breasts. Like those just don't exist in history anymore, especially in AAA gaming. Anything above B cup is completely unreasonable, and it's for coomers. Like, women just do not have these size breasts, even if covered. Right? So, like, even if you were to cover the woman up, she would still not be able to have massive boobs. Which is, I guess, like, one of the features of Western gaming industry. But like, this idea of having a woman with, I suppose, this type of clothing, this type of attire, in this particular setting, right, like feudal Japan, this is something more of a fantasy trope. So, like, if you have, like, a Nia, a Warcraft 3 setting, right, like, it kind of works. But if you're trying to create some immersion rooted in historical thing, then you can't have this, right? So, like, she can have these size breasts, and she can have a pretty face, But she does have to wear a more modest attire because the action does take place in a historical setting, in a feudal society. So you can't really have her looking like this. Now, what's interesting is that in the past, Assassin's Creed actually did this with a DLC. I remember, like, back in the day, a lot of people wanted a female assassin. And there was this DLC where she would have, like, the clothes of an assassin, right? And because of the time period, that wasn't really allowed for women to dress with pants and stuff. But she did it anyway. And you could climb the buildings and you could, aggro all the guards if you were dressed as a female assassin. But she could also dress as the appropriate attire for a woman of that time period, right? So, like, she had this huge dress, and that also meant that she can't climb walls, like she can't parkour in that huge dress. So it actually made an interesting gaming mechanic. Like, you're playing as a female character in a historical setting, and you're actually playing like a female character. You're not just playing as a man with boobs. It wasn't just done for humorist purposes. It was actually part of the gameplay. Like, you have these two outfits, and you need to switch between them. Do you want stealth? Do you want to mingle in the crowd? Then you use the female attire. You use the long dress. Do you want to climb buildings? Do you want to do combat? Then you use the other attire. And it was like a really interesting thing. Unfortunately, we do not get interesting things anymore because game developers now, they do not have a single ounce of creativity in their bone. And in fact, sex in itself is haram. Like, they would never include something like this anymore. If you guys remember the first Assassin's Creeds, you could actually hire a group of prostitutes in order to surround the main character so he can blend in the crowds, and you could bypass guards like that, right? So you'd have like 10 or 20 prostitutes in Italy, and they would surround the main character so that from the outside it's not visible that there's a man in the middle, and they would just walk past the guards, and they would flirt with the guards, and they would make, wolf whistling and all that stuff. And it was a gameplay mechanic that just doesn't exist anymore. They would never do that in 2024. It's like, are you crazy? And then there's another famous scene where an aristocrat woman is being told, I believe by the Templars, that they have her children, and unless she does what they want, they will execute the children. And she says that she doesn't care and lifts her shirt off, like showing her underwear and saying, I have the tool to make more kids. And obviously, it's a very impactful moment because she's a mother. She does care about her kids, but she wants to bluff. Like, she wants to pretend that she doesn't care in order for the Templars to be demoralized. You will never get a theme like that, you know? Like motherhood, manipulation, like subtlety. It requires good writing, and it requires the ability to even write something like that. Like, I genuinely can't even imagine in 2024, a female character just lifting her shirt off, like showing her underwear and taunting the men below her. Like, that would never happen. They would never allow it. It's not allowed. 9, verboten. In fact, if they could, they would probably burn all the previous discs. Erase it from history. So, I mean, I personally wouldn't recommend something like this. However, it would be an interesting gameplay mechanic if the female character just couldn't do any type of combat, but instead she would be a master poisoner. She would be really good at subtlety, social stealth, and of course, while she can't do combat, like she doesn't know how to use this weapon, she would have the assassin dagger. She would still have like that. Do they even use that in the game anymore? Because I see like all the assassins with swords and axes now. But they used to have like that little assassin tool that came out of the wrist, right? So she would have that. And she could use her sexuality, she could use her charm in order to infiltrate certain places and try to assassinate the noble. And you have to watch out from other women and other female servants that would be wary of her. Like, you could have like actual gameplay mechanic and actually matter that you are playing a female character and you're not just playing another man with boobs. But again, I don't expect Western entertainment to understand the human emotion, storytelling, female sensuality, seduction. Like these are all foreign concepts. I mean, we saw in Baldur's Gate 3 the limited understanding of human emotions that are displayed. It's like you're going there and you have your NPCs and it's like, hey, you want to fuck? Yeah, I want to fuck. Let's fuck. It's kind of like that. There's no romance. There's no build up. Sometimes there is, but like very little. Compare that with Baldur's Gate 2, where you're trying to seduce Viconia Devere, or even Mass Effect, where you have like the relationship with Tali, Zora, Vas Normandy, like things that are actually well built and well done. I would even say Pathfinder, Wrath of the Righteous, the relationship with Darwe Ashal. There are people that know how to create and how to write proper romances, but we don't get those anymore. Let me know what you guys think, though, and as usual, I will see you in the comment section. Take care.